Hello. I should clearly state that whatever I say in this video is just a theory, just a hypothesis, just a blind guess of no one from internet. I cannot confirm or prove it. Don't take me too seriously. Unlike some other videos on this channel, this specific one does not include any predictions and cannot be checked in experiment. So it's just interpretation of other assumptions I made earlier. It can be called science fiction, because at least I have a model. Please don't make any conclusions from this video. I don't ask you to do anything. This video might hurt your feelings, but don't blame me. I believe that evolution theory made a lot of people unhappy in the past, but it's just the way our progress works. Sometimes we create new stories instead of older ones. As a result, we might lose older beliefs, but we can always build new ones instead. And maybe develop new devices as well. I understand how miserable I am to touch themes like this, but maybe I don't even have a choice. Or my choice is too limited to be able to stop. And if I'm right, someone else will come up with these ideas sooner or later. So maybe it's a necessary harm. Or maybe I'm overcomplicating it and none of your feelings will be touched by these naive, primitive and maybe obvious ideas. I just don't know. I can only mention that I was not very comfortable with these conclusions myself for some time. But now I'm fine. So you should be fine too. Also, I understand that consciousness deserves a separate book instead of 15 or 20 minutes long YouTube video with simplistic examples, but every journey always starts with the first step. So let's start. I should remind you that all videos on this channel are connected together with the same logic and the same main idea. What if our universe is a huge discrete robot? What if all matter and energy in it follow specific algorithm? This assumption gives many different implications, and one of them is an explanation: what would consciousness mean in such world? If everything in this universe including us are robots consisting of primitive beings, discrete machines, following specific algorithm, and if all those machines have the same base properties, then all matter and energy should have the properties that we have. So all matter and energy should be conscious in some sense. It should have the feeling of existence that we have. Our feeling of existence, our consciousness in this case, is the group consciousness of causally connected data of our brain and our nervous system. Our brain processes the data we get as external stimulus. Result of such processing are our actions, our behavior. Our neuron network is used for that. I should mention that we always get external stimulus, always interact with external matter. Without external matter we would have no temperature and would freeze. This explanation is quite simple, but how does it explain the problem that philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness? If I understand this problem correctly, it's something like this: how our everyday experience appears from physics? How specific feeling of redness emerges from math formulas that describe the motion of separate particles? There seem to be no any feelings in quantum physics, so how do they appear inside of our brain? In one of my previous videos I explained that per my assumption physics is not fundamental, it's only extended statistics of matter movement. And that is why it consists of math formulas. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. And as physics is not fundamental, the feeling of redness does not have to emerge from physics at all. Redness emerges from the way our algorithm works. Again, as physics is not fundamental, there is no any hard problem. The hard problem appears only as a result of false assumption that physics is fundamental. False assumption that math formulas somehow cause our behavior. Per my assumption, our behavior is caused by algorithm of matter instead. Our brain is a neuron network, and neuron network works through associations. If you never ever in your life saw a red color, you would not have any feeling of redness. Let's suppose you lived all your life in a room with black and white walls and then got outside. How do you know that some color is red? You don't know until you are told that, and until you remember this information. Next time when you see the same red color, association with that color and whatever you remember about it can emerge. So the feeling of redness is just an association that we have in our brain, connections of our neuron network. Our memory. Without memory we don't have any feeling of redness. Beauty advisor probably knows a lot of shades of lipstick and therefore has feeling of redness that is much richer than mine. For me the majority of those colors would be just red, as I don't need to differentiate them. What I'm saying is that our feeling of redness is our memory about this color and our reaction to it. Of course our sensors also need to be able to differentiate the red pattern for that. Colorblind people can't have any feeling of redness at all as far as I understand. We can't even be sure that my feeling of redness and your feeling of redness are the same. We can only speak about our reaction to that color and that's it. I know that my name is Dimitro. When I hear someone calling out this name, I react to that. I have a feeling of being Dimitro not because it's true, but because this name was given to me by my parents. They could give me any other name and I would associate myself with that name instead. If after some accident I lose memory, it happens with people sometimes, and don't remember my name anymore, I will lose my feeling of being Dimitro, my Dimitro-ness will be gone together with my memory. Or with my inability to use it. And I might have to reassign this or some other name to myself, build new neuron connections in my brain. What I mean is that there is no any specific redness in our heads. It's only ability of our sensors to detect specific pattern and ability of our brain to associate some neuron connections and some actions with that pattern. For example, when you are driving and see a flashing red or orange light ahead, it might be a good idea to slow down or stop your car. It is much easier for me to solve an equation by writing it down on a piece of paper. Easier than to do that in memory. Why? Because my neuron network connections were built that way through my education. Symbols I see on a piece of paper are processed in my memory and the most probable reaction to those symbols is generated by my neuron network. And as a result I write the next symbols, solve equation. Recently I found out that I forgot how to solve quadratic equations. I did not need to solve any for a long time. So you write down an equation on a piece of paper. You expect the next actions to happen just as it was in school. But surprisingly nothing happens. All my training, all my experience of solving quadratic equations vanished with time somewhere between other neuron connections that I was building through my life. As a result I had to search the web for the specific sequence of actions. And solve it using that sequence. Another example would be the recent COVID pandemic. I lost my sense of smell when I was sick. It was so strange. I expected to smell something, expected my own reaction to a strong smell, but nothing happened. As if I lost part of myself because of that. Or we can say that I had problems accessing that part of myself. But I still had experience of smell in my memory as a reaction to specific visual forms. As if I could smell by watching. But no any experience of strong smell would exist for me without my memory about it and without my sense of smell. Huge amount of other examples can be provided, but studies and additional knowledge would be needed. I hope I explained the general idea. So to conclude, per my assumption we are, our memory. Our working causally connected neuron network. We are the matter that it consists of and the nervous impulses passing through it. Maybe that's not everything or maybe it works some different way, but that's my blind guess on what happens. A guess that does not contradict with the model of universe as a huge discrete robot. As all matter is conscious per this theory, we probably have other complex structures inside our brain, which are not causally connected with our neuron network. Therefore we don't feel those structures the same way as we don't feel a stone that lies on the floor. Psychologists call those structures the unconscious. Someone would ask, if stone is conscious, why it does not interact with us? Why it does not ask why as we do? Well, maybe it just does not care to ask. Maybe its algorithm makes it lie on the floor and do nothing? I think much better question would be this, why do we care to ask why? Also someone would ask, if you say there are complex structures inside my brain and body, why they don't interact with me? Well, maybe they do. Maybe your happiness is an example of such interaction. I will provide more details in a separate video. So is elementary particle conscious? Let's review and compare elementary particle and human. There are at least 3 definitions of being conscious that I could find. The feeling of existence, responding to external stimulus, subjectivity. Let's review each of these definitions. The feeling of existence. I know that personally I do have the feeling of existence. I can only assume that anybody else or anything else has this feeling as I do. So if I assume that other people besides me have the feeling of existence, but cannot confirm it, the same way I can assume that particle has the feeling of existence. Responding to external stimulus. How do doctors check that person is conscious? By checking that person responds to external stimulus. They can wave a hand, ask how many fingers they show. Does particle react to external stimulus? According to my theory, yes. Particles interaction is when particles exchange their quantums of energy. Such exchange causes Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, updates momentum or rest mass of a particle, updates its state. I have a separate video on that. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. So yes, particle does react to external stimulus. Being subjective. What do people even mean when they say that human is subjective? As far as I understand, they mean that human can have a specific view on some matter. This specific view does not have to match or depend on what other humans think. To be able to have a specific view of reality that does not depend on anybody or anything, you need to be able to break the sequence of causes. You need to be able to do something without any cause. Otherwise, whatever view on specific matter you have, it will be caused by that sequence of causes. So you will not be subjective as a result. To be able to think differently, you need to be irrational. I have a video on that, you can watch it if you need more details. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. In other words, to be subjective you need to be able to change your mind, change the state of your neuron network, change your specific algorithm without a reason. You need to have free will. I have a video about free will for robot. You can review it for more details. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. Also, you would need to have memory to remember your specific view of reality. That's how I understand subjectivity. So is particle subjective according to this? Yes, it is. In one of my previous videos I assumed that every particle consists of huge amount of discrete pieces, quantums of energy. The specific combination of the discrete pieces of a particle causes all the properties of the particle, including its energy, direction of movement, speed, and whatever other properties particles have. Link to that video is in the upper right corner now. So particle does have memory, particle's own state. Can particle change its state without a reason? In another my video about the free will for robot that I mentioned above, I described a mechanism that could be responsible for that. So yes, particle can change its state, can change its memory without any predictable reason, so particle can be unpredictable, but because particle is huge in size, the range of its unpredictability is very low. As low as something we call the wavelength of a particle. As always, details will be provided in one of my future videos. So at least within this theory, particle does match every available definition of consciousness, so yes, it's conscious. But it would be a really primitive consciousness. Our consciousness would appear to be a combination of their consciousness. Our state of algorithm execution. And consciousness did not ever appear, its fundamental property of matter. Is stone conscious? Yes, because it consists of conscious matter. Why we don't observe it? Because its free will to move to the left is cancelled by its free will to move to the right. As a result, stone does not move anywhere and just lies on the floor. As you can see, the hard problem of consciousness becomes not so hard in the universe of discrete machines. All you need is to assume that matter of this universe executes algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you want to get more simple and primitive explanations for so-called hard problems. Like and comment this video if you want other people to see this explanation. It bothers me that by providing these primitive explanations I might be breaking someone's miracle. I see how many people discuss consciousness, how many of them hope they have an immortal soul that will not die when they die. I'm really sorry. Your immortal soul is your personal algorithm per this theory, and it exists as unique combination of your matter. It will be destroyed when you die. Even more, it changes through your life. You are only your own memory and memory of those who remember you. This is the disappointing part of the theory, but I think there is also an encouraging part. Another consequence of this model is that we, the around 10 to the power of 52 discrete machines that Dimitro consists of, will actually not die when Dimitro dies. Even though Dimitro's memory and Dimitro himself will not exist anymore, we will continue our algorithm execution. We, the quantums of energy that Dimitro consists of, exist much longer than maximum 100 or less years of Dimitro's existence. Our copies that travel from remote galaxies can travel through space for billions of years before they reach the Earth. So the quantums of energy that those photons consist of can exist at least for billions of years and maybe even more, infinitely. That depends on the model to use. Dimitro will provide additional details in separate videos. So what are the 100 or less years of Dimitro's life comparing to our life? Less than 100 millionth. We were here when dinosaurs existed. Maybe some of us were parts of those dinosaurs. Probably we will still be here when humanity doesn't exist anymore. Maybe we will have a chance to build something better. Or maybe not. Anyway, Dimitro's and any other human's lives are just a small piece of our feeling of existence, and that feeling will not disappear. We will be in silence and darkness, and maybe it will be boring, but we will be here. Building a better universe. Actually being a part of Dimitro or any other human is our chance to do just that. Chance to build a better universe. Because it might be harder to change anything when we become a molecule of oxygen flying around, or when we become a part of photon moving to a remote galaxy. Someone could argue that discrete machines cannot have a will to create anything. But we did create life, so it was our will to create it. Our will, meaning our algorithm. So let's try to do something interesting while we have a chance. Thank you for your attention.